Hey guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel. Hope you're all doing well. In today's video, we will discuss the top 4 best cameras for street photography in 2022. All the product links are given in the description below, so without further ado, let's jump straight into the video. Best interchangeable lens, Fujifilm X Pro 3. At first, the body appears very block-like. Still, after closer examination, you realize that every inch has stylish design considerations. It is built from a magnesium frame, making it incredibly durable while being mindful of the overall weight of the camera. The top and base plate of the body is made from precision machined titanium, and a final coating is applied. It first comes in a standard black finish where the entire body, including all dials and buttons, is also black. The Fuji feels incredibly solid in hand and has a perfect amount of weight. Surprisingly, it weighs at 497 grams and can easily be handheld for a considerable period. In comparison, the X-T3 weighs a little more than 539 grams. Due to the growing range of Fujifilm X series lenses available, this can be paired with any lens to meet any purpose. There are 21 prime lenses, 12 zoom lenses, and a couple of sign lenses. When flipped back up into place, the main LCD is hidden. Instead, you have a smaller sub-monitor to show your critical camera settings. The controversy over the hidden LCD screen relates to the trend that LCDs are a critical part of shooting and should be present on every camera. Further, the expectation is that the LCD is always viewable and should include tilt and twist functions where possible. The buttons and command dials are customizable, giving you much freedom to set up the camera how you prefer. The camera has been finely tuned to maximize the use of this chip, along with the new 26.3 megapixel X-Trans sensor. Together, the autofocus is high speed and can grab onto a subject with precise sharpness. Moving subjects can be easily tracked thanks to enhanced face and eye detection. Even when tracking a moving subject with dynamic movement, the focusing system can hook onto the eye and maintain focus throughout. Combined with the fantastic 11 frames per second FPS in continuous shooting, you can capture your subject in full motion and still produce crisp images. Street photographers rejoice as this is the latest and greatest Fujifilm camera intended for you. This provides photographers with old-school simplicity due to its optical viewfinder, complete control dials, and hidden LCD. With this interaction, your focus is squarely on the photographic experience rather than pixel peeping for satisfaction. Best multi-aspect sensor, Panasonic LUMIX LX100 II. This looks just like its predecessor, available in black and measures 2.6 by 4.5 by 2.2 inches, HWD, and weighs 13.9 ounces. The body is pretty slim, but does include a hand grip. It makes the camera more comfortable to hold and doesn't extend past the lens. Still, it is a little too bulky to be considered pocketable for most jeans and pants. The micro 4/3 sensor is about twice the size, in terms of surface area, as the 1-inch image sensors found in most of the competition. Its sensor is slightly different from the standard, though it's a multi-aspect ratio design, which means that the amount of surface area used and the image resolution varies based on the aspect ratio you choose. The shutter release is in the expected position at the center of the zoom rocker. There are also 2 control buttons, IA, which toggles the intelligent. It isn't the fastest pocketable point and shoot we've seen. Recent Sony models, including the RX100 support 24 frames per second raw capture with focus tracking. The LX100 II manages 11 frames per second, although that is with focus locked after the first shot. It drops to about 6 frames per second when adjusting focus from shot to shot. Still, it doesn't offer a perfect hit rate when trying to keep subjects moving toward or away from the lens in focus. About a third of our test shots were out of focus in our standard test, in which a target moving toward and away from the camera is captured in burst mode with continuous focus enabled. Image quality remains steady at 10.9mm, 24mm equivalent, f/2 and f/2.8 before ticking up to crisp 2024 lines, at f/4 2005 lines, at f/5.6, and 2077 lines at f/8. Edge performance is never excellent, even wide open, with the best peripheral results at f/8 1600 lines, and the worst at f/1.7 1023 lines. There's also no weather protection, although that is by no means a common feature in this class of cameras. Panasonic has stated that there are no internal seals to reduce the chance of dust on this image sensor, an issue that LX100 owners have discovered after spending a couple of years using the original camera edition. Best features, Canon EOS R6. This has managed to pack quite a bit of the camera into the R6's magnesium frame. The body measures 3.8 by 5.4 by 3.5 inches, HWD, and weighs in at 1.5 pounds. It's a little bit smaller and lighter than 7D Mark II, but the R6 sensor is twice the size and mounted to a 5-axis stabilizer. The R6 gets there with a mirrorless design that drops the optics and flapping mirror used by SLRs in favor of an EVF with a direct view from the sensor. It doesn't feel undersized either. A textured hand grip and angled shutter release make the R6 feel as comfortable in the hands as a 6D or 5D series SLR. The R6 is almost, but not quite, the twin of the pricier 45 megapixel R5. The two share a lot of components, but the top plate controls differ, and the R6's EVF isn't quite as sharp. The buttons you expect on a pro camera are here, including a depth of field preview button next to the lens mount. Its function is reassignable, as are many others, and 3 control dials in total, 2 on top and 1 on the rear. The R6 sports connectivity options including integrated Bluetooth and Wi-Fi to connect to a smartphone, tablet, or computer to wireless transfer and remote control. It also has USB-C and works as a webcam along with Canon EOS webcam utility app. For years, Canon has been developing its sensor-based autofocus system, dual pixel autofocus, using it as a live view system for many of its SLR cameras. This lead time and learning from some of the missteps made the first-gen EOS R have borne fruit here. Simply put, the R6's autofocus performance is among the best in any camera. It has a little in common with the high-end 1DX3. The two models use the same 20-megapixel full-frame sensor, while the R6 is the smaller of the pair. It's one that mounts to a 5-axis stabilizer. As for image quality, the 20-megapixel design doesn't have as many pixels as its competitors. Pixel count is something to fret over if you're frequently making large prints or tend to crop your photos, but not for delivery to phone and tablet screens. Photographers used to Canon's way of doing things will find the R6 welcoming. The dials and buttons are similar to older SLR models. While the optical finder has been swapped for an EVF, the handling is identical enough to minimize any learning curve. Best overall, Sony a7 IV. This is considerably more expensive at around $2,500 and thus not a direct replacement for the a7 III. The price isn't out of line, however the Canon EOS R6 costs the same. The R6's 20-megapixel sensor isn't as strong as a choice for photographers who need room to crop, but there's not much else to complain about. More expensive full-frame models tend to have more pixels, like the 45-megapixel Nikon Z7 II, roughly $3,000, or fast-reading stacked sensors for action photography like the Sony a9 II, roughly $4,500. The 50-megapixel Sony a1 combines both those features for $6,500. Lower-cost options skimp on build quality and don't offer as fast burst rates. If you're on a tight budget, you can mull models like the Canon EOS RP, which is available for around $1,300 with a lens. Build quality is right in line with the competitors. The body is magnesium alloy and suitable for use in rainy conditions. Sony added a couple of features to help combat sensor dust too. The IBIS system vibrates to shake dust away, and you can set the camera to close the shutter when it's powered off, so there's less of a chance that dust gets on it when you change lenses. You shouldn't throw out your air blower or sensor cleaning kit. Still, those tools are essential for any interchangeable lens model. The a7 IV doesn't stray from Sony's design ethos and features just a few small changes that improve on the a7 III's already robust control set. The dimensions are similar too. The a7 IV measures 3.8 by 5.2 by 3.1 inches and weighs 1.4 pounds, right in line with the earlier model, 3.9 by 5.0 by 2.5 inches, 1.4 pounds. If you prefer a more miniature camera, Sony's slimmer a7C is another option, 2.8 by 4.9 by 2.4 inches and 1.1 pounds. The a7C delivers comparable image quality to the a7 III, but has a newer autofocus system. The a7 IV uses a 0.78 times magnification viewfinder with a 3.68 million dot OLED panel. It's in line with competitors. The Canon EOS R6 and Nikon Z6 II have similar displays. The viewfinder refreshes at a smooth 60 frames per second in its standard mode. Still, it offers a high readout 120 frames per second mode that is more suitable for action photography. There's a slight drop in clarity with the 120 frames per second mode. It's a little harder to read small text in the frame when using the high refresh option, but that's not something that matters to most action work. The a7 IV relies on the same NPFZ100 battery as the a7 III and other models introduced in 2017. It's the best battery for full-frame mirrorless cameras in terms of longevity. The a7 IV gets a little bit less out of the storm than others, indicating that its newer tech is more power-hungry. Expect about 580 shots with the LCD or 520 with the EVF under CIPA tested conditions. This puts it in the middle of the pack, not as good as the a7 III, but better than the Canon R6 and Nikon Z6 II. One of the things that was amazing about the a7 III was its speed. At the time of its release, it was the first full-frame mirrorless to snap photos at 10 frames per second with autofocus. That's no longer a head-turning figure. However, the Canon EOS R6 and Nikon Z6 II push 12 frames per second with tracking. The a7 IV's top speed varies based on which file format you choose, 10 frames per second with lossy compressed JPEGs, HEIFs, or RAW files, but just 6 frames per second if you go for lossless compressed or uncompressed RAW.
Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, then hit the like button and subscribe to our channel if you loved it. Take a moment to hit the bell icon so you'll get notified of all our new latest uploads.